It's real. It's actually real. Praise Algaroth. The prophecy is true. The greatness that was thought impossible to return has returned. My fellow brothers and sisters, the time has come. The gods speak. Speak. The rocker. It calls. It beckons. The rocker. I can hear it. Oh, Isaac. Isaac, my boy. Our Lord and Savior! Oh my God, yes. The prophecy! Alright guys, sorry, so sorry about that. Like, I had to do it, listen, like, listen, that's just what happens, that's what happens when I get, like, incredibly hyped for something, like, just stupidly excited for something, is I make shit like that, okay, it's just, I'm sorry, I just had to do it, but this is not over. I want to react to one more thing for this, which is like the kind of developers commentary, or like the developers discussion. There's a video that came out on IGN that like the developers discuss what they want this game to be. Oh my, I can't believe that the Dead Space remake is actually real, lads, and we're actually gonna get it. Oh my god, I just can't get over that. So they discuss what they want this game to be, and I only saw like the very small beginning of this, and even just the small beginning, okay, it was like the things that they were saying that they wanted, it just gives me more and more confidence that this game, like, literally will probably become like the greatest horror game ever made in history. Like, I'm not joking. You're about to see like some of the things that they talk about, and I only saw the beginning, so I'm super excited to see the rest of this. Let's just get right into this. I'll say what I think afterwards, but I just want to like just listen to them just say everything that they need to say first, and then I can just absolutely gush and lose my entire mind over the greatness, the absolute sexy hypeness that is this this game that's gonna come out. Oh my god. Oh, dude, the visuals is gonna look so sexy. It's gonna be for current gen, dude.
Dead Space is back with a remake of the beloved 2008 original currently in production. And while the series has remained dormant for years, the developers at EA Motive are hoping to bring the nightmares of Isaac's journey aboard the Ishimura back to life, using the latest console technology to create a stunning new take on the adventure.
Oh my
Ahead
god,
of its reveal, IGN spoke to two leads on the project about why the team chose to remake the original, how they're staying faithful to that visceral classic while injecting some new life into it, and the team's unique approach to involving fans in the game's development.
I'm gonna be involved, alright. I'm gonna be every step of the way.
The foundation on which we're starting is that we are rebuilding completely the game, but in Frostbite, in the new engine. So the original game was
completely new engine,
really, old engine. So we have all the original assets. So for example, as level design, the foundation currently of the game on which now we're iterating, we started with the original level design collisions of the original Dead Space. And what's funny in that actually is that you can see also some of the iterations that were made prior to ship by the team. Like in the first chapter, you can see some corridors that they wanted to do first in a certain way, and then you can understand why they changed it for technical constraint or something. So we also have that type of history in the data that is really interesting. But then in terms of visual, sound, gameplay, everything, we are rebuilding all of those assets.
Just like Resident Evil.
It's not appraising the texture or
just like Resident Evil did.
More polygons to the model. It's really rebuilding all those elements.
My god.
Shooting all the animations.
Full on just.
Then there are a couple
like,
of elements on which we
refurbish-
want
oh my God.
to iterate and try
fuck was
to
that?
add improvements to it.
I saw a little
Whether it's on the
visual
horror,
glitch.
on the immersion, or even on the gameplay.
Immersion.
There are
Oh,
elements that we don't want to change the experience. We really want to stay true to that experience, and that's
Yes.
why we've started
Yes,
to work
please.
with some passionate people in the community to make sure that
It
we still
Yeah.
nail that experience, that it's Dead Space.
yes, it has to feel like Dead Space 1 did. Like the every, which you can be rest assured that like the change in engine, they're gonna still make sure that it feels like
Then
Dead Space 1.
with
It's just gonna
stuff
be
like
so much
the really fast
smoother
SSDs
and
that we have
not
currently
clunky
with
like
the new
Dead Space
generation.
1
Okay.
was.
That's probably really interesting things that we can do
like with
in terms
movement
of
and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
creating a more immersive Ishimura, or other elements
Oh my
like,
God,
for example, taking inspiration
The immersion.
in what comes after what they did, let's say on Dead Space 2 with the zero gravity.
Yes!
How you move around in zero gravity compared
Yes!
to Dead Space 1.
Yes.
That's definitely something that is
These
really
are the
interesting
reasons
to
why I
us,
like Dead
and
Space
that
2
we're
more than Dead
playing
Space
with,
1.
and that's how we are approaching
what is with
changes
some of these
to the
visual
original,
glitches
is through
going
the
on?
lens of
Am I the
those
only one seeing that?
improvements we want to make.
Well, clearly,
Thank God.
next generations of console enable us to have ray trace reflection, volumetric effects, or even fluid simulation for these effects. 3D
My
audio
friend
with
Nathan is going to
understanding,
absolutely
where the
cream
sound comes
himself,
from,
dude.
having the right
Jizz
propagation
his
in the
pants with
corridors,
these reflections.
making it come from the vents above you or behind you. These are all things that
Oh,
we'll
the
be
audio
able to
design.
expand on to
The audio
increase,
design
again,
was
on the
already
level of immersion and make sure
stupidly
that,
good
yeah, like Roman said,
in
the
Dead Space
the
1 and
Ishimura
2.
is alive. It's
We're
it's
not gonna talk
dying,
about Dead
but it's
Space
still
3.
alive, and it has a voice. And throughout
Oh,
your
hell
journey,
yeah.
over
hell yeah, it does.
the chapters of the game, you hear it progress, and that's the type of evolution that we want to make sure that the players notice when they play the game.
Oh my God! So like, because I don't really sense
One
that
thing
all
for
that
me
much
that is
in
really
the
iconic of
original.
Dead
They're gonna
Space,
make like
it's
the noises
often,
get worse and
at least at
worse.
the beginning of the game when they're playing a little bit with your senses, you get that whisper in your ear.
Yes, exactly.
And that's pretty creepy and scary in the game.
All the
Now
flashing
imagine
lights and stuff.
with the current 3D audio technologies, you will be constantly like, what the? It's that.
Oh, yeah, and being able to know like exactly where the sound is coming from because of the better surround sound that you can't really get on the older ones. Oh my God.
I wish I could talk
So, revisiting and refining Isaac's story.
sorry.
Don't change it too much.
sorry about
Don't change it too drastically.
Everything that you're gonna see,
I
in
don't
the
want
world,
them to really
every
do that.
UI element, every everything is diegetic, and it's presented from the perspective of Isaac. We want to make that immersion even deeper with a fully uninterrupted experience from the start screen to the end credits.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want anything to pull you out of the experience.
The original Dead
and we
Space
don't
already
want
kind of
any
does
cut.
that.
And so
But the
that's
loading
something
times are
that
gonna
we're
be
using,
so
like
much
when I was
better.
speaking about faster SSDs and this kind of thing. There's not gonna be any loading. There's not gonna be any
Yes!
moments where
you
gonna
have
cut
to
your
just-
experience, where you
have to sit in the elevator for like 2 minutes.
You can play it from the start screen to the end credits seamlessly.
Yes.
As an objective
Because
that we gave
before
early on to everyone,
Actually, I
what
should
we're
wait.
trying to achieve is a level of immersion where you never want to put your controller down. Like Dead Space is not a 60, 100 hour game.
I'm never gonna want to do.
Like,
I'm gonna play
ideal
this thing like
scenario,
non-stop.
You don't actually want to get up to go to the bathroom because you're so immersed within the universe, and you want to play it through in one sit down.
For us, what is important?
probably am
the,
going
the
to.
foundation. It's it's Dead Space
Depends if I
story.
can get a
So
freaking PS5 though.
by
when it comes
default,
out.
that's what is canon. But then there are some improvements that we want to make to that story, and not necessarily improvements because those things were not really working in the original. More improvements because of what came after, and we're like, oh man, that's interesting. If we could be referencing that, or if we could make a link to that doesn't
Yes,
feel
that's
like
fine
they
with
tried
me.
to retrofit it afterward.
Yeah,
So
that's fine with
We're doing
me.
it from a narrative standpoint.
They
But
just
we're
wanna
also looking
add
at it
some
from
stuff
a
to the
feature
story to have-
standpoint and the improvements
to
and
be able to
some
set
of,
up for more cooler
of
things.
the content that was
like,
that
later.
evolved throughout the franchise. So we're looking at what can be taken and
So they do want to
like re-injected
make this
within the
into like
first
a
game from a feature
remade
standpoint.
franchise, like remake all of the games. And I don't think they're gonna make
We're
any
also
drastic
learning
changes
from
to the
mistakes
core
such
story.
as microtransactions, which we will not have, for instance, in our game.
On the
Yes!
combat, well, of course, with the new technologies that we have,
Dead Space
we
3.
will make the dismemberment evolve a little bit, and not only to make it more gory, but maybe to have
to make it
some
more
kind
gory?
of, evolved mechanics around it.
Oh man.
But does it still feel like Dead Space? Does the combat feel tense like Dead Space? Do you still feel like every round counts when you get
God,
into after
it's
a
so
couple
good
of
'cause they-
hours
'cause they
of the
have-
game, this kind of thing?
A direct template to compare this to. Whatever experience they make, they can always go back and play the original Dead Space and be like, the
For
core
us,
gameplay feels
we
similar.
don't want to
to
be
give that
in
feeling,
siloed
those
and
feelings.
create our own bubble of the game we're making.
There's no way that they're gonna mess
so
this
so
up. When they have a
from
template
the
like
conception,
that.
we've linked, we've reached out to members of the community to create a community council to be some sort of sounding board for what we were making sure that if we're deciding to make a change, we want to be able to explain it and get told if, like, no, what are you doing? What are you thinking? You're actually breaking the game. Why are you changing this? And we've received some extremely valid feedback from that group. We're trying to meet with them on a every 2-3 weeks basis to show them content and have that ongoing discussion. And they've had access, unfiltered access to what we're making from a very early point in production, which is I think something that was never done at EA, was making some people uncomfortable at first, making us uncomfortable, but that's proven extremely valuable. And I think that for a game like us, which is a lot of people consider it a cult classic, I surely do. Remaking
Blasphemy.
It, we can't break it.
Blasphemous
so we need to make
heathens
sure
don't.
that we have that conscious.
Only
that
blasphemous
works with us,
heathen
that gives
scum
us those
don't
cues
think that
when
this
we're playing with something and they're like,
is
you know
one of the
what?
greatest horror games ever made.
Maybe be careful about this
franchise.
for XYZ reason.
Dude, I freaking love that they have like actual like Dead Space
What's really cool,
community
it's first
like
you discover
fans
things that otherwise
that they're
you might have discovered reading
referring to
Reddit
to make
2
sure that
weeks
they don't
after
fuck
launching
up.
the game, and you're like, oh man, I wish I knew that.
They're having that engagement
so that's super useful
with the community.
But also, it's really energizing
hardcore fans and
for
stuff
the
like that.
team and for the people and even for us, because when you show something and you get feedback and good reactions on what you're doing, it gives you that energy to go like, man, okay, that's cool. Let's keep pushing that.
we're doing the right thing, you know? The worst thing that they could do is to just try to do things on their own without, you know, showing some stuff off to fan, you know.
What we're
Hopefully they get
remaking,
reliable
we're
people
remaking a survival
that
or classic game.
represent the
And
majority
that's
of
something
Dead Space fans.
That's
you know?
really important for us, and that's also
they
why we're
are.
working with the community on this one.
So much of
Walking
the
with the
original
community. I
Dead
fucking
Space
love
was
that statement.
on the highs and lows, managing that curve of tension, managing like I'm not sure I want to turn that corner because I don't know what's going to happen.
I
and those
experience that
surprises.
constantly as well.
That's something that, as a message to the team and a focus for our group, is essential. Making sure that we get the right pacing.
I literally
to
crawled
avoid going
through
too
my
much
first
in a
playthrough of
direction
Dead Space 1.
action, and
Like
get
belly
that
crawled.
scavenger loop and that slow pace. I need to make sure that every
Army
bullet
crawled,
counts
dude.
when I play.
I was so nervous at every single
I've
area
always been a
to
fan
continue.
of that genre, and
that's
I'm
so
also
good.
a big fan of sci-fi, and that's why I really loved Dead Space. It's because it adds that unique mix of sci-fi, horror, gore, etc.
But also just science and technology
to it.
as well.
And
That is kind of reasonable
I've
for the
never
future.
had before the
So
opportunity to
cool.
work on a survival horror game, and when I had the discussion with the people at Motive, they had me with 2 words: Dead Space. I was like, yes, no, stop. You can stop here. I mean,
Yeah, hell yeah.
whatever. I want to be there.
Oh my god, man, get absolutely
It's
bamboozled.
really kind of a love
Combined
letter
wrecked
to
and
fans that we
bamboozled
want
there.
to write with this game, and we're part of those fans. So the passion that we have in making it, I hope it translates into the results of what we're seeing now and all the things that we'll be showing in the future.
Oh my god. Oh, this looks
There's
like,
plenty
so
more to
good.
learn about the Dead Space remake, so be sure to head over to IGN
This-
for even more.
This has
info
left
on Roman on the
any
remake's
doubt in my
creation,
mind in the
and
dust
be sure to check out the full review
for this
trailer.
remake.
And for everything else happening aboard the Ishimura, you're already in the right place. IGN.
Oh my god. Every single shred of doubt that I ever had is erased. They are gonna make something absolutely incredible. Like, incredibly good, man. Oh my god, dude, just... Like, I just love everything that I just heard. I have no doubt at all that they are going to succeed wildly with this. That they seem to have the determination to, you know, that they want the success that the Resident Evil remakes got, you know. I mean, we're not going to completely talk about Resident Evil 3 remake, which is a shameless cash grab a little bit, but I mean, we're talking about Resident Evil 2 remake and like the resurgence of Resident Evil and stuff like that. Which it was said that this was inspired by. They're literally coming out and saying, we're having the freedom to make this amazing, alright? And EA has shown that, like, you know, that they've kind of been giving some developers the freedom to actually make good games, like Star Wars Fallen Jedi, you know, and like a few others that I can't really remember. So like, you can rest assured this is going to be fucking awesome. Along with the visuals improvements, you know, like that's pretty obvious. I mean, that alone is like just absolutely going to change the experience for the better. Like, if you're someone, like, let me get this right out of the way. If you're someone who thinks that Dead Space 1 is like the greatest that it ever could have been, like nothing could have possibly made Dead Space 1 greater, you are delusional. I would like to know the like drugs that you're taking to make yourself so delusional, because they sound like there's some good shit. I'm not ragging on Dead Space 1 or anything like that. I freaking love the game, but it was far from being like a perfect, like literally couldn't be better game. Like no game is like that. When you have continuing increase in technology, no game is incapable of becoming better than what it was with better technology. And especially when we're talking about Dead Space 1, which was made in 2008. For like the early kind of areas of PS3, or maybe middle areas of the PS3. I mean, for that generation. I'm PlayStation user, that's why I say PS3. That era, all right. And it's like, if you played the first Dead Space, have you played Dead Space 2, and just how all the like gameplay improvements as well as visuals and stuff that Dead Space 2 had over Dead Space 1. Like, yes, if you play Dead Space 1 right now, you will be surprised. Like, you'd be like, wow, this game came out in 2008. It was ahead of its years, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't 13 years ahead of its years, okay? The improvements that they're going to make visually alone is going to be just absolutely scrumptiddlyumptious, man. And the audio design as well. Like, you couldn't really completely have that surround sound. Like, when I listened, you know, I could hear the voices and stuff like that. I could go, oh, you know, but I couldn't really hear the surrounds. I couldn't really hear exactly where they were coming from. I mean, number one, I don't really have the ability to use a headset for my PS3. I have to have it coming out of my TV. You know, like, and that was my experience of all three Dead Space games. Was coming, you know, like, you have your headset, you can have this incredible audio design that shows exactly where its sounds come from. That stuff is a given with a remake, but the other stuff, after hearing them talk about it, I am perfectly okay. Even the story stuff. From what I heard from what they said, what I think that they're doing with the story stuff is they're not gonna change the core story of Dead Space 1. They're not gonna change what like core stuff that's gonna happen. They're just gonna add on to it, I think. They're just gonna tweak some stuff a little bit to show a little bit more lore here and there, or maybe a little bit different lore that maybe some lore that like actually goes on in the Dead Space universe through like the comics and like, or maybe the movies or something, that extra bit that wasn't shown Dead Space 1, 2, and 3, and may sprinkle a little bit more of that in. Or they might put a little bit more new lore in to kind of, because they kind of want to change a little bit of the story that comes later in the series, like Dead Space 3 type later, which I'm perfectly okay with, because I don't really like the Dead Space 3 story very much. It was okay, but I feel like they could have done a lot better, especially the ending. I'm perfectly up for them kind of like adding some new lore to like the necromorphs and stuff like that, like and things like that, because it's a new experience, you know, and if they do it right, which I think they will, like I think they have some talented people on their team, they could make Dead Space even so much greater than it already was, you know. I beg anyone watching this not to be that guy, you know, those people that just put something that just because it was the first thing, or just because it was the original piece of something, and they put it on a giant like pedestal up in the heavens, and like nothing can touch it and nothing can ever change it. Nothing could ever attempt to make it better, because it could never be better. It could never be better than what already is. Those static minded people, you know, don't be like that. Like, I genuinely feel like they, you know, they're not going to change the core story and stuff like that. They're going to go with that greatness, that Isaac's journey, but they're just going to tweak it a little bit, add some things to it. Maybe I would love for them to add some like really epic, gory moments to the game that wasn't in the first one. I want them to keep the stuff that was already fucking awesome, you know, the gory like and disturbing imagery that was already in Dead Space 1. Add stuff to it. Add more scenes that are super gory and disgusting. This is a remake, not a remaster, so it is completely in their hands to add some stuff to this experience, to take what was already amazing and just make it even more absolutely amazing by adding to the experience, you know. And what makes me so much more confident in them and just so much more secured is the fact that they're saying that like they have like a community of like hardcore Dead Space fans. They think that they would choose people who like hardcore Dead Space fans that would be good representatives for the whole. And they say that they're engaging with them, and that they are constantly asking like, hey, is this okay, like kind of like mostly okay if we do this, is, you know, like allowing them to convince them whether or not it's like, oh hell yes, that's fucking awesome, add that, you know, or just like, no, no, come on, like that's not a good idea because X, Y, and Z, you know, and convince them not to do mistakes. It would be tremendously not in their favor to lie and to have this be a flop. Like, you know, like, are you insane? You know, it is obvious. It's obvious that like they want this to succeed because they know that there's a tremendous amount of cashola in this, okay? There's a tremendous amount of interest, like, and a tremendous amount of potential to get a huge amount of new people in, not just the already passionate and incredibly fiercely loving Dead Space fan community of these games, but they know that there's many years worth of newer gamers. Like, what I mean by that is, like, once you get to like that 13, 14-year-old, 15-year-old range, that's when a lot of parents, other than the extremely uncool, unfun ones, allow their children to start actually, you know, playing some more mature stuff, especially like 14, 15, and stuff like that. If we're talking around that, it's been like 7, 8 years worth of you know, new gamers that are, you know, capable of playing more mature games coming up, and they've never in their lives played a Dead Space game. So like they're gonna hear all the Dead Space super fans talk about this, and they're gonna be like, what the heck is going on here? And they're gonna check this. They know that so much cash is into this, right? So they're not gonna mess this up. This is going to be one of the best horror games ever made, if not like, I mean, I know we have like Callisto Protocol as well and other horror games coming out, but this is going to be the most anticipated horror game probably of next year. I don't really know when this is going to come out. They haven't given us a date yet, but it's probably going to be next year, probably late next year, if we're still only seeing like a minor teasers and stuff like that right now. It's definitely not going to come out by the end of this year, and I seriously doubt it's going to come out beginning or even mid next year. I have a feeling they're gonna want to do like some kind of fall, like maybe Halloween release or something like that. That would be cool. I don't know how the fuck long it's gonna take me to get a PS5, because this is only for PS5 and Xbox Series S, like the current generation. And it is stupidly, ridiculously hard to get your hands on these, like, mythical, like, every single time I search one of these things, it feels like I'm trying to, like, find Bigfoot. Like, I feel like I would have more luck finding Bigfoot or a unicorn walking around my backyard than a PS5. So I don't know how long it's gonna take me, so I know it's selfish, but I kind of hope that we don't get this until, like, at least the end of 2022 or something, because it feels like it's gonna take that long to get a PS5. I'm gonna try hard as shit next year, man. I know that they say it's still gonna be ridiculous, but just I'm gonna lose my entire mind trying to get one. But I think that's all I wanted to talk about. I think that's all my thoughts on what we just watched there. It looks more than promising. Like, all of my doubts are gone, every bit of it. And anyone who still has doubts, just I have no idea why. The developers look like they're very passionate, and they want to make this good, and that they know what they're doing. That's what the vibe that I got from it. We're probably still quite a long ways off, probably between a year and a half away. So if any more information comes up, I'm gonna be here to look at it. But other than that, we'll just have to wait to see more. Man, I can't wait to see like a full-on trailer and maybe a gameplay trailer. Oh my god. Oh my god, that's gonna be so fucking good. Like if you enjoyed this, subscribe if you want to see more content to my channel. Give a comment down below what you think. I freaking love to discuss. And it's gonna be torture waiting for this thing and waiting for a PS5. As always, hope you guys all have a swinging day. And I'll see you when we get more information.